Hey guys, welcome back to Ranger Survival and Field Craft. I'm Andrew, and what I have for you today is going to be our cold weather or winter survival pocket EDC kit. Stand by. All right, so what I'm going to lay out first is my basic EDC pocket carry kit that is going to last the majority of the year. From the springtime through the fall time and all the way through the summer, this kit can get it done while the vegetation is still up and still green. And so we've got our basic cutting tool, just a simple utility blade. It's that Buck Ranger. And then we've got our #1 fire starting tool, that lighter with the tape around it. And then we've got paracord, anywhere from 5 to 6, 10, 25 feet is going to be great. We can fit 25 feet in a cargo pocket easily. We've got that military cravat for improvisation, medical aid, a lot of different uses with a military cravat. Then we've got our survival mirror for signaling with a nice foam sheath there to protect the mirror, but also to protect us. If we take a fall and that glass breaks, we're not going to stab ourselves with our own survival tool. These are the basic items. We can also throw in a headlamp of some sort. We use headlamps all the time. We could use that. We're obviously going to have a tourniquet in tactical environments. #1 way to stop bleeding right here. We can also take out that utility knife and or add or replace it with just a simple multi-tool, because we have multiple blades on this, as well as the pliers. That gives us a lot more versatility in survival as compared to just a basic utility knife. And then I would also advocate for having some sort of survival knife with us, some sort of fixed blade that we can use for wood processing and game processing, for carving, notching, making tools, all that good stuff in survival. We can change these items out based off our needs in that winter or that cold weather environment. I'm going to show you those items I carry right now. Now, my kit for cold weather, winter environments, I'm really focused on #1, warmth, focused on shelter, focused on hydration, and then focused on mobility. So those 4 things are going to be what I consider my priorities with a winter survival everyday carry kit. So that #1 item I'm going to have is fire for warmth. I'm going to keep that lighter, but I'm going to add a couple things to it. So I've got that lighter with the tape. That tape is awesome as a flame extender. We could also use that tape to help create just simple snow goggles to prevent snow blindness. I'm going to have a secondary fire starting tool, that ferro rod. And on top of that, I'm going to carry man-made tinder, cotton balls, and Vaseline. Now, we could start the fire with our tinder and our lighter. We could start it with our ferro rod. And then we can use this to get a fire going quick, fast, and in a hurry. We don't want to be wasting time trying to find tinder that may already be marginal at best or completely saturated because of the weather effects. So we want to carry man-made tinder with us. Notice we've got the orange band of tape around our film canister here. So if we drop this thing is white. We drop this, we can see that orange, grab it and pick it up, and then as long as we have at least one fire starting device, we can use this tinder effectively. But there's another advantage of having cotton balls and Vaseline as our fire tinder, and that is that we can open this up and use the Vaseline on our lips, on our fingers. Our fingers are going to crack. We're dehydrated in a cold weather environment, at least mine do. You can see I've got one right there on my thumb, and we're going to be using our hands all the time. And so we want something that's going to help take care of our fingers, take care of our hands, help reduce some of those other cold weather injuries or some of those discomforts in the field, to help give us just a little bit more of an edge. But we want items that are also multifunctional. So not only do we have tinder right here, but we have a medical aid device, and then we have multiple fire starters as our fire kit. And it's too easy to carry these in a front pocket and then throw this either in the survival kit or throw it in our cargo pocket or another small pouch that we have attached to us. Maybe it's part of our plate carrier or our flick or load-bearing vest, whatever. But we need a robust fire starting kit to get a fire going, because we can die in less than 3 hours out in cold elements. So we need something to maintain or thermoregulate our body temperature. So we've got fire. Now, next item that I want to bring up, because I talked about the Vaseline and cotton balls, that is Bandaids. H-style Bandaids are going to be the best because we can put them in those weird or hard to reach places in between the fingers or around small digits or where we bend in our knuckles. But these Bandaids are primarily for our hands and our fingers. Now, I know I'm harping on this with fingers cracking, but having been a winter ranger and having done a lot of cold weather training, being dehydrated because you're working constantly and then being malnourished as well as having your fingers start to go cold and numb with weather effects. My fingers crack all the time. And so I'm gonna carry Band-Aids to go around those cracks to help make my survival experience that much better. Or I'm gonna try to make that experience as best as possible anyway. But Band-Aids, this is where they shine in cold weather environments. Not only do they help cover up those cuts or those cracks or small lacerations, abrasions, or anything on our fingers, but they help give us that cushion and that padding, put our gloves back on, help protect our digits, because without our hands and that dexterity, we're gonna die in a cold weather environment. So Band-Aids in cold weather is where they really come into their own and they really shine as part of a kit. All right, so we talked about warmth. We talked a little bit about one of those more personal items that I would carry in a cold weather everyday carry kit, being those Band-Aids to help protect our digits. They're gonna be very important for us to actually survive. Now let's talk about shelter. I've got one item for shelter, technically, and it's gonna be that Mylar blanket. This thing can fit in our pocket, but with this, it's orange on one side to be a signal, and then on the other side, it is green, so we can actually use it for a subdued shelter. But that Mylar blanket is what's gonna go in our pocket, wrap around ourselves in front of that fire that we start with our fire kit, and then stay warm or radiate that heat. But we can also use this as a signaling device as part of our shelter, orange side up, facing the sky, so it contrasts with that white snow around us, and then search and rescue can actually see that. And so for our shelter item, we're gonna have that heavy duty, dual colored Mylar blanket as part of our kit. Now to go along with shelter, cordage, we have that black paracord because it's gonna contrast with the snow very well. So we're gonna be able to see this. This is primarily for our shelter craft, for fire if we have to use a bow drill, but we wanna use maybe 15, 20, I think this is about 25 feet of paracord, a lot more than we typically carry in warmer months. A lot more because we're gonna use this to create tools. And this is where we get into that mobility. Mobility with this means that we can take down material and actually craft snowshoes to walk on top of the snow. We want to have a lot of cordage with us because making snowshoes is going to save us calories, save us time, prevent us from sweating and going hypothermic, but it's going to increase our mobility. Snowshoes are very easy to make with the right materials, and we can get up off the snow instead of post-holing into that snow. Having a lot of cordage means we can create snowshoes and increase our travel time, decrease our calorie output, maintain our thermoregulation, and then travel over distance to walk out of that survival scenario. So having paracord of any kind is gonna be crucial in survival, especially in cold weather. Along with that, to harvest material, the one thing that I put in my pocket for winter survival is gonna be that Commando chainsaw. That Commando chainsaw can take down a lot of material very easily. It's a lot better than a Commando wire saw, a lot more sturdy. Plus, this thing will hog into material very, very quickly. This will help put up our shelter, harvest that firewood for burning, and keep us alive in a cold weather environment. And it goes right in our pocket. It makes sense to carry something like this. Best tool in your pocket for winter survival, in my opinion, to stay warm and make a shelter. We got that. All right, so we talked about warmth. We talked a little bit about shelter. We talked about mobility a little bit. We need to talk about hydration. In a cold weather environment, staying hydrated is important. Luckily enough for us, there's gonna be hydration all over the place in the form of snow and ice. That's why carrying a plastic bag or a drink bag as part of a kit in the pocket is gonna be incredibly important, because we can take all that snow and that ice, shove it in this bag, put this under our first layer of clothing, not directly on our skin, but under that first layer of clothing, and begin melting that ice and that snow, give ourselves a drink. We can carry this underneath our first layer of clothing while we're walking on our snowshoes and trying to find our way out of our survival situation in that cold weather environment, hydrating and moving all at the same time, and staying warm with physical exertion, but not overexerting ourselves, sweating, putting ourselves into that hypothermic state, but giving us our best chance at survival and meeting a lot of those criteria that we need for this type of kit. So a plastic bag is gonna be that drink container. Now for signaling, I'm gonna go with a whistle. We already have this giant orange panel with our Mylar blanket as our signal, but in winter survival, especially with the vegetation off the trees and that snow over top of the ground, sound is gonna travel a lot further. Light is gonna travel a lot further. And so we can use a whistle as a distress signal in winter a lot easier or a lot better than we could if we were just using a whistle and all the vegetation was up, because that vegetation is going to block the sound waves. It's going to block it. But without that vegetation and with the snow and the ice over top of the ground, sound is going to travel a lot further. You can hear a lot better in winter. And so that whistle, that Fox 40, is going to be our distress signal. It's a signal search and rescue, which is why we carry it for our winter survival EDC kit. All right, next, speaking of signaling, we want a nice light at nighttime, because that white light will go further over distance along with that red lens because of the snow on the ground. But we still need to be able to see what we're doing, and then even have a distress signal in the form of that strobe. Again, with that snow on the ground like it is outside right now, that red lens is going to travel further. People are going to be able to see it. Plus, with good illumination, we may not even need a headlamp at nighttime. It's almost a full moon right now outside, and so that illumination is reflecting from the moon off the snow, or more correctly, from the sun off the moon, off the snow on the earth, and giving us great visibility at nighttime, which is what we want, because there is a lot of undulating terrain out here, micro terrain, and the snow is going to cover a lot of those deeper areas potentially, and we want to be able to see where we're going and not fall into a deep hole or fall into a crevasse or whatever it is and hurt ourselves or end up in a situation where we can't get out and nobody's coming to save us. So we need to be able to see our way, and having a light like this is important. All right, next I've got two items, and that is a good folding knife. Remember, this is a pocket carry. We're not really talking about things that are going to be on our belt. I always advocate for carrying large tools like a fixed blade knife, a multi-tool, some sort of saw or hatchet as part of our kit. But if we're just doing pocket carry, we need a good stout knife. This one is the Gerber Gator, and it's got a rubberized handle, meaning that it's not going to be cold on us when we touch it. We want something rubber that's going to warm up in our hands, giving us that dexterity to handle that knife safely so we don't cut ourselves. But this is also a very stout knife that we can fold in a 90-degree baton material as well as process game. And it's also got the ability to act as a secondary striker with our ferro rod. That's something I do to all my folding blades if possible. And then on top of that, with this blade, we've got a sharpening stone. In a winter environment, we're gonna lose dexterity. We're probably not gonna be able to carve as efficiently as possible. So we may wanna cheat and use a baton to hammer on the back of this knife, and we want to maintain the edge of our tools, even in a cold weather environment, because this thing, we may have to use it to actually chip away at ice, to get ice out, or we may have to use it for processing game. We're hitting bone and we're dulling that blade. So we want to have something like a small sharpening stone to help keep that blade sharp so that we can use it efficiently in a survival scenario, especially cold weather. We keep that blade sharp, we're less likely to hurt ourselves, makes life a lot easier and a lot safer for us. And so having a rubberized handle, a good sharp blade, that 90-degree spine, as well as a sharpening tool, will give us the best options for a pocket carry kit, at least for cold weather. So we want a knife with a rubberized handle and a good blade, just like this one, and that stone. All right, that last item is part of our Winter Survival Pocket Carry Kit, or that EDC kit, is gonna be a hand warmer. Now, this isn't gonna do much for us to raise our core temperature. It's more of a comfort item, but it's also a safety item for our hands. We could take this, curl up in our debris shelter if we're insulated from the ground and we've got top cover and we're inside enough insulation. We can take this, hold it, get some warmth from it, put it in between our legs where our femoral arteries are running through, and attempt to get warm with that. But this is more for our hands. Our hands are our number one survival tool in a cold weather survival environment if we have limited clothing and we're not properly dressed. So we want to take care of our hands, which is why I'm really big about Bandaids, as well as the Vaseline from our Tinder source here, to take care of our digits, prevent cold weather injuries, because we're most likely to get those in our fingers, on our face, chilblains. We're going to lose that dexterity from our hands, and we need to maintain that if we're going to survive a cold weather winter environment. So these are not only healthcare items or hygiene items, but they're also safety items to maintain our number one survival tool. So that last item as part of this kit is going to be that hand warmer. Now, one thing I want to point out with this kit, notice the knife, notice the headlamp, notice the cordage, the whistle, the lighter, the ferro rod, the saw, dark colored items that are going to contrast well with snow. So if we drop these items, we can see them in the snow. Now, on top of this, we should probably have gloves in our pocket or in our kit or close by, along with some sort of recon wrap or some sort of scarf. I would opt for a recon wrap. However, we may need some sort of camouflage to go with our kit if it's a military environment or non-permissive environment. So maybe we want to go with a sniper veil that is snow camouflage. That way we can use this. This thing is 72 inches long, so we can actually put this over top of us, lay down in the snow and be somewhat concealed. But this also acts as a good piece of clothing because we can wear it as a scarf around our neck to help maintain our body temperature. And then on top of that, we should always have some sort of wool or knit cap put on top of our head to stay warm. I'm losing the hair on my head, so I'm gonna need a hat to go on top to help maintain that body temperature, or at least keep some of that heat retained in the body and make life just a little easier in a cold weather environment. So we've got recon wrap, we've got our hat, we've got our shemagh, we've got our gloves, and then we've got the majority of our kit items that will contrast with the snow so we don't lose these items as part of winter survival. And then what's really nice about a kit like this is that we can actually take a quart-sized bag if we're gonna replace it with that drink bag, and we can place all this stuff inside this quart-sized bag or a small pouch. Just stow it very carefully so we know it's not gonna be too cumbersome. And we can place all these items inside this small kit. And having a quart-sized bag like that, or a simple kit that fits inside a quart-sized bag, is small enough yet large enough to handle all of our necessary survival priorities for any situation, especially in a cold weather environment with the gear we have in here. But you can see it's compact. It'll fit in this quart-sized bag. This can fit in our cargo pocket, and then we can cross-load these items as necessary, but a very easy kit to build, decent kit that meets all our 4 priorities. Good to go. So here's the entire kit laid out. Now, it's a lot of stuff, but we can put more things in our pockets. We can afford that because in a winter survival scenario, if we're properly dressed, we're gonna have extra pockets. We're gonna have extra layers of clothing to accommodate a kit like this. Now, this kit is gonna give us those 4 principles that I laid out at the beginning of the video. Warmth to thermoregulate multiple ways, not only with a hand warmer, albeit small, but with fire, as well as our number 2 principle, shelter, creating shelter, or using that pocket chainsaw to take down fire material, take down shelter material, and then that paracord to string it up. And then that 3rd way with hydration, using our bag, using snow melt from the area. We can pick it up, travel with it. We can even carry a water bottle as part of our larger kit if we have it on us. And then finally, that 4th principle, mobility, being able to get out of a survival situation if we know where we're going. We're also gonna have our watch and that compass on there, if we're not carrying it already as part of our load-bearing equipment on our plate carrier, as well as an IFAK and additional materials. So we have a great kit right here to be able to survive individually and provide for our most basic needs. That warmth, thermoregulation, shelter, getting out of the elements, protection, and then hydration, hydrating in a cold environment. So I really hope you like this video, guys. A down and dirty video today on a pocket carry kit for winter survival. If you did like this video, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, leave me a comment in the comment section. I always appreciate your feedback. I want to thank you guys for everything you do for me, for this channel, for your likes, your views, your subscriptions, your comments, your feedback, and your shares. And I will be back with another video as soon as I can, guys. Thanks.